Good afternoon, uh, church. What we'll be doing in this Sunday school lesson is just talking about the eighth fruit of the Spirit, which is meekness. And we're going to see how God took his glory and showed it through an animal. And let's kind of define what meekness is. Meekness is the quality or condition of being submissive. It is patience, long suffering with obedience. And it's also this pretty much Old Testament word called forbearance. And a person who is a forbearant person is someone who have patient self-control, restraint with tolerance. And it's amazing how God used a donkey to actually show meekness. To say, man, if you don't really understand what meekness is, let me give you an example how I can use a donkey to show meekness. So we're going to be reading in Numbers chapter 22, and we're going to just start with where the story starts. So what was happening pretty much was the Israelites had just defeated the Amorites. And what they did is they set their camp very close to Moab. So the people of Moab, the Moabite peoples, were afraid of Israel because they knew what they had just done to the Amorites. So they went to their king, and their king's name was Balak. So Balak was the king, so he went, and the people went to Balak because they say, we have some concerns about Israel, and it's pretty much too close to comfort, and they were pretty much afraid of Israel. So what Balak did is he went and got with the elders and got with the people and say, hey, we have a problem here. The people are a little bit afraid because the Israel's just too close to our borders, and we have to come up with a plan because they're not comfortable. So what their plan was devised with, there was a prophet and his name was Balaam. So they say, what we will do is we will go out and seek this prophet and ask this prophet to ask God to curse Israel. Because the reason why Balak wanted to curse Israel, because he said, well, if they're cursed, they will be weakened. And if they're weakened, we will stand a chance of defeating them. Because he would not dare attack them without them being weakened, because he just saw what they had done to the Amorites. So what happened was they went out and he sent his messengers to actually go and visit Balaam, the prophet of God. So they went to Balaam and they brought him gifts, because normally during that time there was this thing called divination, and they would normally bring a gift to the person who was going to do some type of sorcery. So they wanted Balaam to take his sorcery power and use it against Israel to curse Israel. So they went to Balaam, and Balaam says, well, what I'll do is I will go and I will ask God, whether or not, I can curse Israel. So Balaam did just as he said. He went to God, and God says, no, you are not going to curse Israel because I have blessed Israel. And if you read the chapters kind of beforehand, what God, during that time when Israel just came out of Egypt, they went through a big plight where they really got chastised by God because they were complaining and doing some of the other stuff. But the same people God chastised was the same people he blessed. And that's how he is towards us. So Balaam went and told the messengers, God says no, he was not going to curse Israel. So they went back to the king, to Balak. So what Balak did is what most of us will do. He said, well, I'll tell you what, let me send some people with a little bit more authority. And that's what he did. So he sent another entourage of people, and they came back to Balaam. And Balaam says, hey, I'll go ask God again. And we know that God never changed. So his answer was the same. So God says, well, I have another plan for Balaam and the Moabite people. And he said, he said, Balaam, you can go with these men, but I need you to do what I tell you to do, not what you want to do for your reward, because Balaam wanted to do it for the reward, because Balak had promised Balaam that if you actually do this for me, I'll pretty much give you whatever you want. So Balaam's heart was not right. But God says, what the enemy has for evil, I'm going to turn that around and do it for good. So here was Balaam. Balaam went, so God told Balaam, he said, Balaam, yes, you can go with the messengers, but again, I need you to do what I says. I need your voice to be my voice. But Balaam's heart was not intent on doing that. His heart was still stayed on getting the reward. So God was angry, and Balaam took his 2 servants. So Balaam was on the way headed to go curse Israel. So what happened was Balaam saddled his donkey and his 2 servants. So what Balaam did not know, that God had an angel with a sword who was going to kill Balaam, because he told Balaam not to go and do it. So the donkey was able to see the angel with the sword, but Balaam could not see it. So there was one instance where they were going down the path, and the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, so the donkey got off the path. So Balaam struck the donkey. There was a second instance where the donkey got back on the path, and the angel of the Lord was right there appearing again, and the donkey did the same. The donkey got off the path. Balaam got mad and struck the donkey. Then there was the third time where the angel got right in front of the path, where the donkey could not go to the left or to the right. So the donkey actually went and put itself underneath Balaam, to the point where Balaam pretty much could have fell off the donkey. So Balaam was so angry that he hit the donkey again. And then when he hit the donkey the third time, that's when God spoke through the donkey. And the donkey said, why do you strike me 3 times? Right? Now, you would think that when the donkey spoke with God's voice, that would make Balaam think that, hey, this is something that I really need to examine within myself. But Balaam did not. Balaam made it look like the donkey did something to him, where the donkey didn't do anything to him. The donkey was only trying to be meek. And remember, I told you a meek person is someone who has patient control with self-constrained tolerance. So that donkeys are very, very loyal animals. And I think that was very interesting that God chose the donkey, because the donkey is a meek animal. So here's what the donkey said to Balaam. The donkey says, why do you strike me? Have I not been loyal to you from the day you purchased me? And then Balaam said yes. And once Balaam saw that, because now Balaam, instead of lies, he saw truth, then God opens Balaam's eye where Balaam saw the angel. So here's what the angel said to Balaam. The angel told Balaam that yes, if it were not for the meekness of this donkey, I would have killed you. So the donkey pretty much saved your life. And sometimes that's how we are with certain people, whether it be a spouse, whether it be a brother, a sister, or a friend. Sometimes the people who you hurt are that donkey. The people who you hurt are the ones who are trying to do everything they could to keep you on the right path. So all the donkeys out there, just make sure you still stay meek, because a lot of times the person who you are trying to help are usually the people who hurt you the most. So we go on later in the story, and we see where Balaam finally saw the angel of the Lord, and he apologized for what he did. And then he said, now I will go and do as God says, as so we think. So they went and they met with the king, Balak. So he told Balaam on 3 separate times to build altars. And then he says, go up to the high point to go and curse Israel. On every single occasion, on the first 2 occasions, Balaam prophesies prosperity for Israel against the Moabite. So the king was outraged. So on the 3rd time and on the final one, but on all But on all two of the occasions before the final ones, Balaam's heart was still not right. He, even though he was doing what God says, he was still wanting God to say, yes, curse them, because his heart was not right. On the third one, when he finally saw that after he made the sacrifices to the altar, that it pleased God, and he finally saw who Israel was, he no longer had that in his heart where he wanted to commit the sorcery or he wanted the rewards of his divination. So he went and told Balaam, whatever God blesses, I cannot curse. So we can rest assured that whenever God has a plan for a people or an event or anything that we had, you're not going to curse it. And the people will always be blessed. So we can rest assured and be very happy knowing that. And the moral of the story with this more than anything else was the loyalty and the meekness of a donkey. And what's very interesting about that donkey was a female donkey. And that's why for all you females out there, a lot of times when you hear the word submissive or submit, sometimes people get very, very angry when you hear it. But when a person is a submissive person, that's a person of special price to God, because you're just like that donkey. Because sometimes you might have a spouse or you can have a husband where that husband is going on the right track. And it's your job to do everything you could to put him on the right track. And if you do that, God will not only bless you, he will bless your family, and you should be blessed. And we will have these short lessons in the upcoming weeks, and before we actually get back to class with each and every one of you. And I look very forward to seeing you whenever we can get back into church. Thank you, and have a very, very blessed night.